Hello guys, Lamp TV here, bringing you another video. Today I'm going to be bringing you the third installment of the Disc Priest PvP healing guide that I've been making for you this last week. And in this part of the guide I'm going to be discussing macros and some juking and faking techniques. I hope you will enjoy. So coming into this guide, first of all I'm going to be talking about the macros that I'm using, and the first one that I'm going to mention is my dispel macro, which basically is a one button dispel macro which includes both your offensive and defensive dispels, which will really save one button space to begin with and one keybind, as you can have this combined into one macro, so to speak. So basically what this does is, if you're targeting yourself or a friendly ally, it's gonna dispel yourself. As you can see, the effect pops up here. Since I don't have any debuffs, it's not obviously doing its work, but you can see that it's working by the spell effect appearing. And then if you're targeting a hostile target, you're gonna see that the dispel effect is coming up on him instead of me. So it's a really handy macro that I really recommend using if you're starting out as a Disc Priest. It'll really help you out with the defensive, offensive dispelling. So that's a really handy one. I'm gonna be putting all these macros in the description below as well for you to copy if you want to use those that I use. Alright, moving on to the next one, we have the Holy Fire glyph, no, not glyph, sorry, the macro that I'm using. Basically what this does is that it's gonna cast Holy Fire onto a target nearest or target enemy player, which basically is gonna be the closest one to you. And it's not going to be working now because these mobs apparently count as neutral, so you're going to have to manually target them for them to work. But if it's actually a red target, it's going to be automatically targeting even if you have nothing targeted. But yeah, anyway, basically what you want to be doing when using this, you're going to have to use this glyph as well for it to work, as this glyph makes Holy Fire return damage to you. And why would you want to return damage to you, you might ask? Well, it's really handy when breaking CC that breaks on damage, actually. So, for instance, if you have a mage or a hunter or a rogue or any other class with a CC that breaks on damage, this is a really nice thing to use. Basically, let's pretend that this training dummy is a mage. He's casting sheep on you, right? And right at the end of his sheep cost, you want to be timing this Holy Fire macro so that you do this, and then you see here the damage be taken back to you. And if you time it right, the damage is going to be slightly delayed, because that's how the game works, and you're going to receive the damage after the sheep effect has been applied to you. And you're going to break the sheep by yourself, which is like a really big deal, as Disc Priest doesn't really have that many outs of CC except for Trinket. So especially if you're going to heal as a Disc Priest, this is a really handy macro, and I definitely recommend using and practicing to use this one successfully. Also, I included in the macro some Cancel Aura, Power Word Shield, Illuminated Healing, and Divine Aegis. These are all your shields that you put on yourself when healing and such. The reason for this is because if you have any shields on you, let's see, I'm going to show you. If I put a shield on me and I use my normal Holy Fire, it's going to be absorbed. And if the damage is absorbed, then you can't break the CC. So that's why we have a separate button for this macro, so that you automatically remove all shields on you, so that the CC will be broken 100%. Is sort of a fail-proof kind of macro thing. Moving on to the next one, we have Power Infusion. This is like a simple macro that I use if I would be using Power Infusion, and if I would be using the on-use trinket. It's basically just a short macro where you can include the trinket and Power Infusion into one button, giving like one big healing cooldown. But sadly I'm not a human or any interested in using the on-use trinket, so it's kind of irrelevant for me at the moment. But if you are a human and you are using Power Infusion, this is a pretty good combination macro. You can include any other ratios or anything you want in this to sort of make it a panic button if you choose to. Moving on to the next one, we have Saving Grace. It's just a simple stop casting macro, and why, you might ask? Lamp, do you have a stop casting Saving Grace macro? Well, the reason for this is when you're healing as a Disc Priest, you find yourself often getting trained, because this is what happens because you're a Disc Priest and you're an easy target to train. And you're gonna find yourself having a lot of people who are able to interrupt you, right? So you want to be faking as many of these interrupts as possible when there's no peels from your teammates. So let's say this healing dummy here is an ally of mine, and let's pretend that these two yellow training dummies are enemies trying to interrupt me. If I start casting penance, for instance, just let one tick go off and then spam my stop casting macro. Basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fake the guys who are trying to interrupt me. They're gonna see the penance cost and they go like, I want to interrupt that, you know. But having the stop casting in Saving Grace is gonna automatically stop the penance cast, so they're gonna miss their interrupts, and I'm still gonna get a big heal out, which is Saving Grace as well, out of it. So they're gonna waste CDs, and I'm still gonna get one tick of penance plus Saving Grace out, which is a lot of healing, especially if you get crits and multi-strike procs. This macro has saved me and my teammates so many times. I really recommend using it. You can of course put the stop casting part of the macro in any other casting spell you want, whether it's flash heal or, you know, just... But I prefer having it in Saving Grace as it is an insta cast with no cooldown. So it's really easy and always available to use. Alright. Moving on to the next one. I don't really use that many macros at the moment, but there's obviously a lot more that can be used, but these are the ones that I feel are most essential to be successful in Priest PvP. The last one I'm using is the Silence macro, and basically this is a standard shift modifier macro. In this case you can use control and alt and whatever modifier you want, but I prefer shift, so that's what I'm going to be using. And basically what this does is, let's say I have this tanking training dummy on focus, right? I put it on focus with my focus keybind. I'm going to be standing here. So I'm going to be standing here DPSing this guy, right? Because I'm helping my team kill off this this healer here. And then all of a sudden I see this tanking guy casting a heal trying to help. So I'm standing here casting, and then shift. You see the silence animation. I hold shift and it's going to interrupt this guy instead of this guy that I was targeting. If I don't hold shift and just press the button normally, it's going to interrupt the guy that I'm targeting with silence instead. So this is really like a standard, really efficient, good macro to use. I've been using shift macros for the longest time, so that's why I'm sticking with those. There are of course other ways to use focus interrupting. You have /target, arena of target 1, 2, 3, and all of those, you know, but I prefer the standard old school-ish modifier macros. Sorry. So those are the ones I'm going to be sticking with. Yeah, I think that is all the macros that I feel is really most essential right now. As I mentioned, there's obviously more of them, and if you happen to know any of these that I forgot to mention, feel free to let me know what these are in the comment section below. It's greatly appreciated, and if you want to discuss some of the ones that I covered in this episode, please feel free to comment that as well. Also, if you're not subscribed, you should totally subscribe to my channel as well, and if you happen to be subscribed, which is totally awesome, you should totally share this video and the previous videos I made of this guide as well. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this last part of the Disc Priest series. I hope you enjoyed these, enjoyed watching these as much as I enjoyed making them, and thanks again guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.